Okay. We got to get into it. I'm not going to be able to go late today, technically. But I think we might actually be able to get at least the Noise Marines done, and then maybe some layering on the Enlightened and Zangors. We'll find out. In today's episode of Hobby and Chill. Hopefully this microphone over here is in a good enough spot that it's not weird like it's been. Let's grab the Naples. What's up, Jack? Sort of. They're a little more avian in nature. Let me hit you with them. You've probably seen them, man. If you've been here enough. A little bit of goat. A little bit of bird. They're a little satyr-like. Hell yeah. Do love me some Zangors. I just wish their specific detachment was better. What you up to, though? Doing anything fun today? It's freaking raining over here. My parents are coming back up from Florida, so I'm not going to be able to stream all night. Gonna have to hop off here and go help him out. No, yeah, I love the concept of Emperor's Children. The idea of the hubris of claiming that they're perfect. The needing to visually represent that. Wearing gear and outfits that are like, oh, only perfect people would wear something so grand. Like, there is a lot built into them of just like needless superiority. And then their entire lore being built around constantly faltering because of it. Their leader picking up a demon blade. Then the demon blade tries to trick him. Starts talking to him in his head. And is like, do this. And I will grant you power. And then for a moment. For a singular moment, he was like, oh, this is the blade trying to control me. I should not listen. And then like 2 seconds later, he goes, wait a second. I'm too perfect for a blade to even try to control me. So obviously the thoughts in my head are my own. Like, it's the constant, man. Even in their reveal, they were like, "Yeah, Lucius is the best dueler in all of like the Astartes." But like stats and on paper, he loses to almost every other Primarch straight off the rip. And I think there's something to that. I think they did that on purpose. He loses to pretty much all of his own brothers, and he loses to pretty much every Primarch in the Space Marine line. So it's like, ugh. The best target for him, the best quarry for him to try to seek out and fight are just super weak units. He's technically like 350 points of fodder clearing. And even then, it's a little risky. No, yeah. Every time I have someone tell me about, like, Mac stuff, I remember I spent 4 years in an art college, and in art college, the whole, like, cult element of it was, hey, you need to use Mac products, because that's what all studios use. And I gotta tell you, Mac was, like, some of the worst things I've ever had to learn. And I know a lot of people are just like, oh, you just have to learn the hotkeys and stuff, and some of them are very similar. But there were so many elements when I was using Mac of just like, oh, I need to make this, I need to copy this, I need to do this. What's the process on the Mac to do it? And the answer was always, you have to do like these 20 steps. Meanwhile, over on Windows, you just like press 2 keys and it works. And I was just like, man, they really don't like want you to do just normal stuff on the Mac. They want to like hide it. Mac was like, and Mac I think was one of the first companies I feel like that was very actively trying to get people into the idea of no longer having like hard drives local and utilizing their cloud service more. Like they would sell you product that had like no hard drive space. And they're just like, yeah, you have to sign up and pay monthly for our cloud service, and then you'll just have your files everywhere. Isn't that awesome? And it's like, dude, what if I don't have the internet and I need to get some work done? What is even happening here? don't know. I just hate their policies. I watched my parents lean into them because that was kind of the thing Mac did for a while there, was they wanted older people to start using them because it was just like, oh yeah, all this stuff's kind of sorted for you. You don't have to worry about like what you've installed, when, like it just kind of is just out of box what it is. And you don't have to care. And watching them struggle on Mac products for years because half the crap they actually wanted it to do, it just wouldn't do. It's just wild. That's probably the worst part too. Technically, so when I was at college, the computers they had better hardware than the computer I had in my home, like in my apartment for when I was working on stuff, right? So they had better hardware than I did. So like it was kind of worth it to try to go to class and use their hardware. But if I went home and did projects, it would just be like me sitting there working. What's up, Daniel? I'm not too sure about the stuff they use, but I think, yeah, because they were moving over to ARM and mobile chips, and they were trying to, like, master those. Which, I mean, that's a valid thing to try to do. ARM is everywhere at this point. Might be worth looking into. But yeah, so the school had better hardware than I did, so I would usually go in to try to like do the Photoshoppy stuff and the design programs and things, because like you want to do it on the faster hardware. But when I'm there and I get like a project halfway done and then it just crashes and the save file's lost for like maybe 20, 30 minutes of work, or if I'm not paying attention, a full hour, it feels bad. And then I would go back like to my apartment and start working on the slightly slower system I had, and it would never crash. And it's like, what? What was going on there? So eventually I just paid a ton of money to get like more RAM, better hard drives, better video card, even though that didn't necessarily at the time play into any of that. I don't know. My introduction to Mac was just horrible. And then going forward, it never really changed. I know John talks about enjoying it because John moved over to it for the purpose of Mac was working hand in hand with like Adobe Premiere and like other editing programs to try to make their newer systems run hyper smooth on low power with it. Because there is a world where one of their like cheaper laptops, technically, if I needed to travel, I would probably want the cheaper laptop just so I can edit on the go, and it would actually be pretty decent. That's just an efficiency thing, though. A buddy of mine once talked to me about this in the world of engineering, and like software engineering stuff. So for the longest time, what Intel was doing was paying companies to focus on maximizing the efficiency with Intel, which is why Intel always felt better than AMD, even though on paper AMD's processor stats were like way better, right? Like that was kind of a huge thing in PC building for a while, was just like AMD would constantly release chips that on paper could dominate Intel in terms of just raw power. But then you'd play the games, and the games would just run a million times smoother on the less powerful Intel chips. And it was weird. And that was the reason. Intel was just paying companies to build their programs and engines around Intel. It's like, I think NVIDIA was dropping PhysX. Like, they bought the company that was making PhysX, added it to their software because it just worked on GPUs really well. And then there were these games coming out that, at first everyone was like, yo, are you going to use PhysX? Are you seeing what PhysX does? It's awesome. And then the game companies were like, we're thinking about it, maybe. And then out of nowhere, they announced, like, yeah, we're not using PhysX. We're going to be using an Intel-based physics engine. And then they would spend, like, a little time showing it off in action. And it was always, like, kind of mid-looking comparatively. Dude, look at how the boxes collapse. It's like, all right, man. But it was I think, Crysis did it, and Alan Wake did it. Alan Wake was like, yeah, we're just going to use Intel. It was because Intel paid them a bunch of money to do it. This guy out here talking about OSRS. It is a weird time that I've been watching OSRS content. Like, I don't know why I would have done that. Freaking Jimmy and Walnut. What's up, Majar? Best sauce for chicken wings, Jack. I mean, if I'm just getting chicken wings, I usually just go with a buffalo sauce because, like, screw it, whatever. You know, it's almost recognizable. It's not too egregious. It's not too underwhelming. I do like lemon pepper, but, like, I don't know, lemon pepper, I get why people enjoy it, but it is a little bit boring. Teriyaki, I could see. I don't know if I would consider, like, I get that it's a wing, but, like, the moment you add teriyaki to it, I almost feel like it goes to another genre of food, which is just like teriyaki style food. There's a teriyaki place near me. Like, they just make teriyaki food, and it's good. And I feel like if you just add teriyaki sauce to something, it almost is like, yeah, it's not really like a wing anymore. It's more just like something you would get on a teriyaki menu from like a restaurant. But I could see it. I tried mango habanero. I don't know if I like sweet on like a wing. I mean, if you're going for like classic chicken wing, yeah, they got to be spicy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like outstanding for a wing. Oh. I mean, most of it's good, but like I straight up could probably eat a whole bucket of chicken wings if it had Jamaican jerk seasoning on it. If it was just like a Jamaican jerk wing. Yeah, some people can't. Some people can't steal. And I get it. But I used to love spicy, like, all the time. And then my one friend's mom was, like, all about cooking, like, authentic Chinese food with, like, Szechuan peppers and stuff. Oh. Oh, it was so good. I kind of want to get my hands on some fermented Szechuan peppers to just have here for when I cook. Like, I could make straight up just American style chili and then just toss Szechuan peppers in it to really push it. Give it that cultural blend. Well, no, steel. Oh, jeez. So we have I can't do spicy at all, and I freaking love spicy at the same moment by Double Jack in chat. Szechuan peppers are awesome. Because they have that chemical that in a lot of people causes them to numb. Like, you just... It's not even about it being hot. You just, like, stop feeling your face. Which is kind of cool. It just hits you with, like, specific styles of flavor, and then you're just, like, zonked out on food. It almost feels like fully conscious tripping. Imagine kimchi wings could be awesome. I like kimchi pickles. I don't think there's a place near me that does kimchi wings. Maybe, though. There is one of those Korean wing fusion places. Where they do, like, what was it? It was like bibimbap fries or something. Oh, no, bulgogi fries. Bulgogi. So delish. They're okay. It would be good if it was made by like a place that wasn't trying to be a fast food restaurant, I think. like that's the biggest downside to this spot that does like the Korean wing fusion is that it is also trying to be a fast food restaurant, which means most of the food is like preemptively cooked really quickly and is just kept under heat lamps so they can throw it together and then like heat it up real quick to hand it to you after like a minute of waiting. There is a spot near me, though, that is straight up just Korean barbecue. I wonder if I could ever talk them into being like, oh, yeah, we'll put some on fries, because their bulgogi is so good. I remember going there a few years back, and my buddies were just day drinking. Sitting there drinking Korean beer or whatever they were getting. There's a guy sitting across from us eating a bowl of noodles. I just remember him, he sees them day drinking and he just immediately goes like, yeah, I guess I'll day drink too. Just like orders, hits us with a kampai, and it was just like, whoa. No, yeah, I don't know if the bulgogi hybrid place or the Korean wing hybrid place is going to last. Just because it is, like, it tastes mediocre. I've been there twice to try to see if they have anything worthwhile, and every time I've just been disappointed. I don't think I see too many people going there in a day, so... Dude, Noodle Guy always for the win. I mean, I don't know if spamming in my chat's a good idea, just because my chat isn't super active or filled with people. So it's like one of those, be like a kid at like a grocery store with no one around, just freaking out. Extra weird. Last Spawncast got another reminder that listening comprehension doesn't exist. It even persisted over into the comments afterwards. I brought up that I had a friend who was playing Game Pass on PC for a year. Like, he was streaming it. And occasionally it would just corrupt his save files because, like, the syncing system and the local, like, wouldn't sync up properly. And it would just go, oh, and then just delete his file. And apparently this was an issue he was looking at in forums and trying to figure out if there was a way around it or something he could do to protect himself from it so that he wouldn't lose days of, like, gameplay to this bug. And then this person in chat starts going off like, that's a lie, you're lying. There is cloud saves. And it's like, yeah, I know, I said there's cloud saves. I also said... that he just kind of... You know, it wasn't working. That they couldn't get it working for everyone and that it was causing problems. But, you know, listening comp. People out here really having to ask ChatGPT to tell them what I said to understand it at all. I don't get it, man. What happened to us culturally? No, yeah, it was like he was playing, I think, God, he was playing this big RPG. He was like 4 hours in. And I remember watching him go live one day, and I was like, all right, let me go check it out. And he was way back. Like, he was hours prior to where I saw him the day before. I was like, dude, what happened? He was like, yep, the bug happened again. So, he said he saw that the bug happened because he usually boots the game up shortly before stream. He saw that there was no save file. And then he said, like, oh, so I was going to go eat, but instead I brought the food to my table. And then I spent, like, the last 2 hours trying to see how far I could get super fast. And it's like, dude, this is not a good system. Man, people coming out on a Sunday. All you heathens. I'm going to put it to you, chat. Are we really so, like, as a species, just mentally weak as to get excited when, like, something changes its name? Like, if something rebrands itself but doesn't really change anything else about itself? Like, is all we need that, like, rebranding to be like, okay, they're going to try now? Because, like, this is probably the craziest part about being kind of part of this gaming side of the universe on YouTube is, like, when Halo changed its name to Halo Studios and we're sitting there talking about it like, oh, they changed their name. That means they're going to do good work now. I'm sitting there listening to people talk about it in that light, and I'm like, what is happening, man? If we stop calling apples apples and just change their name, it's not going to change the flavor. Now Xbox out here being like, let's make a new logo. And everyone's like, they're back. Like, what? I just don't get it sometimes. I mean, it sometimes does, but when, in the case of 343 Studios changing their name, that was the only thing they announced. There's nothing else different. They're literally just like, we changed our name. And that was like the end of the conversation. Meanwhile, they're still like interviewing the same people about their upcoming games and stuff. It's like, well, what did the name change mean, man? We got the double jacks in chat. The yin and yang. I don't know, it's just weird. Still no word on the convention I'm going to for work having its 40K tournament. I'm guessing because 11th is so close. That's my thought. Like, why else would they not have announced it by now? Maybe they're waiting to see if 11th is out, then they'll put out the rules as like, oh, it's an 11th tournament. It's so stressful, though. Because if I don't know when they're dropping the info, I have to check, like, every day. I'm also watching War Games live. A lot of Chaos Space Marines using the Defilers. Looking forward to trying them out next weekend. Don't know if I'm going to win. Don't know if I'm going to do well at all. My list is not great. But it is kind of fun. Alright. Naples Orange, I think, is set. There was one guy I needed to hit with a little bit of Chartreuse and Orange. Here he is. We will probably spend a day this week. I'll because the tournament I'm going to already has all the stuff like set. It already has the layouts that are going to be used. It already has pretty much everything I'm going to be interacting with. So we can pull the list together. And we can sit down. We can go over what I've got. We can take a look at all the best situations, you know, good, strong starting positions. It is very important because defilers are very large. And I am running 2 defilers and Fulgrim. And even though Fulgrim's base is slightly smaller than a defiler, it's not too much smaller. And you only have so much space to deploy in a game. Blue's Clues taught us a lot. Which Blue's Clues? Who'd you have? You have the originals? You're talking about a later guy. Original Steve is doing like book tours and stuff right now. Going over all the spicy details of his time as Steve. I used to watch that stuff. To a degree, I actually kind of blame Blue's Clues for sort of the way media works right now for people. Because if you actually watch what they talk about in the documentary of like how they came to the conclusion of what Blue's Clues needed to be, they sort of dive into child psychology a little too hard. It's less like they were trying to make an entertaining show and more like they were trying to make almost like a psychological weapon to force kids to watch it. Because like the stuff they did in Blue's Clues was so actively like, you know, like focusing on kids, making them think they're getting responded to by someone. Like they did a lot of that with purpose. And it did great for their show numbers, and it kept the show going for as long as it's been going. And then all the other shows started to emulate it simply because, like, it was very clear that kids worked better in situations where, or at least they paid attention more in situations where the show felt like it was interacting with them in the room. Which I feel like was kind of the start of where we're at now. Like, if you've ever been doom scrolling and you come across those short form videos where it's like 2 videos at once, and one of them's like actions and like maybe like making cheese or something, right? And then the other one's like a clip from a movie. That's because it's been found that psychologically people lock onto that because you have 2 things to interact with. So you can kind of like pick and choose what's your interest in that moment. So it's less about trying to create something entertaining and more about something that you create that's more like a psychological trap for a person. So in a way, Blue's Clues sort of revolutionized the concept of making media with the focus. Okay. Making media with the focus of getting people to like actively want to watch something in a way where they can't like stop. Or it's difficult to like get yourself out of that to be like, "Oh, no, I need to do something else. I can't just sit here and watch this." It's like an attention span war. And I remember someone on YouTube talking about that being kind of the end game. Less about making good content and more about trying to figure out the algorithm of a human mind to be like, and you're stuck. It's almost like hypnosis through content. Which, I mean, is horrifying in of itself, but it also birthed one of the funniest things I remember from watching my favorite stuff. A lot of the streamers I watch decided to do to join in on like the World of Warcraft stuff that was going on with like the OG World of Warcraft coming back, and they were trying to make like a hardcore guild. So it was a ton of content creators doing it together because, you know, it's fun, play games with your friends. But a lot of them recognize that viewership on World of Warcraft is always horrible. Because, like, no one wants to watch that. But they still wanted to take part. So that struggle birthed the idea of when you're streaming World of Warcraft for this event, you also have like a small window up that has like an 8-hour video of like making a chair or something. Like it's, you become that short form content of there's a thing going on over here that you can listen to, and then something interesting that doesn't have audio that you can watch. No, yeah, it's all about attention competition. The question is, when will that break? Like, when will that change? Because for a lot of people, like, I'll leave something running on the side and I won't be paying attention to it at all. So, does an advertiser want to spend money, like, putting an advertisement in front of me if I'm never going to see the advertisement? Like, how many people AFK watch something and then advertisements pop up? Like, is there really value in spending a lot of money as an advertiser on something that's not going to give you too much turnaround? Because that's kind of where the attention begins and ends, is that need for people to be actively watching so that the advertiser gets their money's worth. That was like a big thing with Facebook Live, was when it started to come out that the viewership that people were seeing through Facebook Live, because they would just track views, those views were quite literally like, were you scrolling through your feed and you came across it and then just kept scrolling? Well, you were a view. Have fun. you saw maybe a split second of a stream, they're going to count you as a view, and then they're going to tell their advertiser base about like the metric of how many views you were getting. So it was all just hyperinflated numbers, and it was kind of the same thing with X for a while there with streaming. I don't know. It's a weird overall concept to try to focus on and figure out. Because it really is just like, oh, it's how it's been done. This is how it's been. So we just keep going that way. I don't know, man. Hello again, Maddox. These aren't technically new. I put these Noise Marines on hold for like half a month because I got my defilers in. I did manage to get my hands on them for real cheap, though. I don't know if you're familiar with the 40k box releases, but recently they did yet another Emperor's Children box release. It was the Demon Prince 2 Noise Marine squads, and I want to say 2 Infractor Tormentor squads. I didn't need it because it had too many Noise Marines in it for what I actually wanted, and I didn't really feel like trying to sell anything from that box. I brought this up in the store that I usually go to, and one of the guys that works there was like, well, I bought that box, and I also have the original launch box that you got that came with 2 Noise Marines. So I have, because I bought this box, I have 1 extra Noise Marine squad out of it. And I was like, oh, okay. And apparently it's store policy at Warhammer stores that if an employee that uses discounts on the things they purchase sells anything of that purchase to someone else, they are not supposed to sell it for profit. Because that would be insane. I would exist as a Warhammer store that sells out of everything it gets in because I buy it all at discount and then I sell it to people for full price and make actual serious money while also getting a paycheck. Because I believe a Noise Marine squad in the US is, I want to say 60. So I got it for 20 after all the discounts. The fact that the box came with an overall discount for everyone that was like X% off. And then on top of it, the employee discount. $20. I needed the extra cacophonist for it. I was debating purchasing one, but then I remembered my buddy asked me probably a couple months ago if I wanted to get his Noise Marine. Like he had bought the classic Noise Marine. I think he said he found it somewhere for cheap. But yeah, he asked if I wanted it. So, cacophonist. I did a little modification to the shoulder. But now we have a guitarist cacophonist. The last of the three that I need. Which is pretty cool. I like that I can kind of just use it if I have to. We're pretty much set for a carnival list with that kind of a thing. We're also kind of set, because I have 3 rhinos now, we're kind of set for a rapid evisceration list as well. Even though rapid is not doing good, we'll see what happens in 11th. If the rules for rapid evisceration is vastly better, thanks to how some of the rules work. But we're not too sure yet. Got to see the engine in motion before we can make some calls. I wouldn't mind rapid evisceration becoming a thing, because I've got some of the vehicles for it. My only issue is if 11 drops and they basically say like no Horus Heresy vehicles anymore, because I direly prefer the look and feel of the Horus Heresy Land Raider over the regular Land Raider. That and the Horus Heresy Land Raider was just more easy to access locally for a while. Which is why I have it. Well, figure out what locally you want to do. Or at least what a group near you that you know of wants to do. If you have access to all of it locally, that's fantastic. Just watch more games until you figure out the ones you want to play. Know that the people behind Trench Crusade are trying to make it a thing. It looks like they're trying to pull it together into like something more vast. I know they did, I think they did Adepticon, right? They had like that really big booth and all that. They're trying to push it as a thing. But there's always that fear behind companies that start on Kickstarter that like maybe they get excited about it, they take some of the money they earn, they put it back in to try to make it a thing, but then it doesn't actually take off, and then they just go, all right, well, cool, we'll take whatever money we made and we'll just, stop. So there's always that fear that the unincorporated won't continue with the brands we enjoy, but maybe they do. Would be good for some competition. Always good. Lack of competition breeds stagnation. And I really mean that. Even though there's so many TTRPG things in existence, it still feels like D&D is just, we won, so we're going to stagnate. It does not feel good anytime I hear news about D&D come out. It's always like, how is D&D going to make you pay more money to them for stuff that you shouldn't be paying money to them for? Freaking misery. Remember when they came out with the terms of service update that they were going to push that was like, hey, do you create content based on our stuff on YouTube or other places? You're going to owe us money. It's like, what? Like, they're just out here watching Critical Role get like so much viewership. And there's like, how can we make dollars off of that? All they ended up doing was making it so that Critical Role was like, hey, we're developing our own TTRPG now. And we're going to be running our games in it. Shooketh. Yeah, if you just want to like build and paint, that's kind of how it works, Fat Fox. But yeah, definitely check to see if you've got a group to play with locally. If you've got any friends like absolutely locally to you, like, because you're saying you're an hour away from places, and I get that. Most of my places are a half hour. But, like, the big tournament scenes are usually about an hour. I have to plan to go to them. I go to my buddy's house, and then I drive out to him, like, the next day. But, like, playing pickup games out there isn't something that's really on the forefront of my mind. Yeah, some local some local game stores started, like, one of the big ones for me is a comic book store. The whole front part of the store is comics related, and then the back part is all tabletop and card games. And it kind of works. But yeah, there's a lot of comic book stores that became the storefront for a lot of like board gamey things. But if they don't focus on the board game side of things, it doesn't feel great. I think there's at least 2 heavy comic book stores local to me who I would say also are very heavy tabletop and card. Like, they run events pretty frequently. What's sad is the one store near me that is just straight up a board game store and TTRPG store and card store and not a comic book store is probably one of the most active at like not wanting people to be there to play. That still baffles me to this day. I'm never not going to be baffled by it. It's like, this is your market and you're actively just like, how can we make people not come in and play? How do we get them to just not, do events in our game room? It is weird to ask, yes. I can see that. If you watch the Spawncast, sometimes you'll see people struggle when they try to interact with me. When I start bringing up stuff about the games I play, I brought up that like the local people for this game are like highly ranked in the international like listings, and in that moment, everyone was like, "Wait a second, there's something more to it." A couple questions came out here and there, and it's like, "Yep, there we go." The trick is if you know someone that just like hangs out, like if they're a buddy of yours, I feel like they would be inclined to at least check it out at small scale. If you were like, yo man, if I picked this up, would you at least attempt to play it and see how it is? And if the approach is the whole idea of Beer Hammer, like Beer Hammer's straight up a thing. And I feel like that's probably the most attractive way for like new players to get into it who aren't really like tied to nerd culture. It's less that, and it's almost like golf in a way. Like that's kind of what you're doing. You're just going to go play around at golf. It's just in one place, air conditioned. There's a table, some dice, a TV on. Yeah, Beer Hammer's just chill. One of the guys that he doesn't have time in a day during like general store hours to play anyone. So what he did was he converted his entire deck into an enclosed room at the back of his house with air conditioning. He's got a mini fridge with beer, and he'll usually have like pretzels and chips out. And he just messages us on Discord. Like he'll throw a Discord message out to be like, "Hey, I'm open this weekend if you guys want to play." And you just show up at his house at like 7 p.m. and you hang out on the back deck with him. He's just like, "You want a beer? There's a beer. I got chips, snacks, I got all that stuff." And it's just chilling and talking. Like half the game we were playing, we were just chatting about like the roll that just happened. It's like, "Oh, dude, that was the craziest roll ever." Like, it's just fun. Very chill atmosphere. It's not like the competitive, hyper sterilized style of game. It's just, having fun. Fuck it. It's kind of the aspect of 40K you don't really see if you only watch the competitive scene where people are trying to actively talk to each other and, "Oh, yeah, I see that you're going to do that, and I agree that that's the way it's supposed to work. Yep. All right, let's go. Let's get some points. We're on a clock, blah, blah, blah." Like, it's none of that. It's just like, "Yo, man, you see that movie this weekend?" To the sound of clanking dice. It's a social event. Beer Hammer also extends beyond playing the games. Like, what we're doing right now, this. Like, in a room with 4 other people, beer and chips and TV, is fucking awesome. Because that kind of gives you those moments as well when you're sitting here painting and you look over and you see someone do something you've never seen before. Like, occasionally my hands get shaky and I paint like this. And the only reason I actually started doing this was because I went to a painting event when I was like 12, 13. And I was trying to paint like this, and it was just like, And the guy that was like across the table from me was like, "Hey, man, let me show you something." Do this. Your wrists reinforce themselves, so the muscles in your arm don't try to like reassess your center point over and over again. They kind of work in tandem off of each other. And it's because I went to an event and we were all just hanging out talking. You learn skills and tricks that maybe some people figured out and you haven't yet. It's great. Star Wars Legion's still around. It is also, it's hella niche. I feel like, did I talk to you about BCP? Did I talk to you about the better Best Coast pairings? I talked to someone about it because they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do in terms of gaming, and I was like, go to Best Coast Pairings, and then like look up things in your area. Like turn off online. Like there's a way to click a button to turn off online only. And just check your area within 50 miles and see if there's anything. Because that kind of gives you a really good visual feedback for like, oh dude, there's a ton of 40K or something, or oh, you're in a weirdly good area for War Machine, and it's like, whoa, all right. And that can give you kind of some concept. Because even if you're not planning on going to tournaments, people in your area should be maybe looking to go to events themselves, and then also trying to play on their own to, like, you know, keep up their knowledge base, their skill, their understanding of the rules and all that. BCP or Best Coast Pairings. Let me here. I might have to open this. Am I logged out? I am not. New private window. A private browsing. All right, hopefully I don't dox myself doing this. Essential only. Fuck it. So yeah, you just go here, and you, like, New York. You leave all events. You turn off include online. You do 50 miles. You can even set the calendar as, like, end date, whatever. People don't normally plan that far out. Game system, any. No event names, minimum rounds, minimum players not needed, start date ascending. So within 50 miles of New York from 4/23 till 8/31, no online, all events. Bam. You can just go down Warhammer Old World, 40K, 40K, kill team. Ooh, kill team. 40K, kill team. So you just search for your local area. See what's going on over the next couple months. Maybe make a decision based on that. There's way more kill team up near New York City than there is near me. Which sucks. I'd prefer more near me. But it is what it is. Catan. You can play Catan. So when you're in Best Coast Pairings, go to play, find event. And then just click down on the advanced tree, and then just turn this off up here. Select your location. You can either do it... Yeah, there's Catan tournaments, dude. Like, I don't want you to dox yourself. Yeah, it's organized. Oh, you mean sort or something? Like what? I don't want you to dox yourself. I don't want to be like, give me the location you're in. Minneapolis. Now, keep in mind, BCP, I feel like it came around due to, like, Games Workshop games, like 40K and stuff. So a lot of this will be skewed in that direction. If there are other events, they might only exist on, like, Facebook or something like that. But, yeah, Age of Sigmar. Grimdark Future. Catan. This is the local qualifier in Minneapolis. Age of Fantasy. So this is this is one-page rules. This is OPR, one-page rules. There's the Catan Championship local qualifier. So apparently everywhere there's like these Catan Championships going on for local qualifiers. But you can kind of see what you've got going. This is one of the methods I know to do it. God, I kind of want to picture the final round of OzCon from Wargames Live. No, we paint. But yeah, it's a method to see like local spots. Local in air quotes, local within 50 miles of you. Or whatever you set as your maximum range. At the very least, what you do is, if you see an event happening, it'll usually allow you to contact the event runner. And what you can do there, they might not respond because I think it's through one of those like anonymous email systems, so they might not get messages readily from the system. You can message them to be like, hey, is there a local thing? Like, is there a Facebook group I gotta find, or like a Discord or something you guys use to like organize like not competitive games? Because I'm trying to get into the system or whatever. Because usually you'll find people like that. There was near me there was this bar that was also like about board games and stuff. That for a while there was also doing 40K. It was this big falling out though, apparently. The guys who managed the bar basically told the individual running that group that he could do the group there as long as, you know, he helped them organize and build like certain things, because they're a brewery and bar, and this guy was like a carpenter and all that. So he was like, yeah, I'll help you. Helped them out, built a lot of their stuff, got it all prepped, and then once it was all done, they were like, hey, we don't really want you like coming here with your group and playing. It's distracting for us, and like some of the other customers seem to like get confused when they come in here and they're like, oh, it's an event, I should leave. So it kind of screwed him over. But there are some like places that you don't expect to be hubs for gaming, which you wouldn't know about unless you start talking to locals in the area about it. Barely any. Yeah. I definitely feel that in this area I'm a bit spoiled. Sadly, they're all minimum 30 minutes away from me, which isn't that big of a deal, but a lot of them are an hour away. The one I'm going to try to go to this Saturday is 30. The ones I kind of want to go to are all an hour, though. Are the tournaments that you're looking at, are they at convention centers, or are they at like local spots? Because you can usually see the address that the event's going to happen in. Oh, dude, you manage an arcade? How is that in modern times? And yeah, you can run events. Like, I feel like if you have the space and it's not the worst to do that in the off season, like, it's always something to explore or at least think about. I know the guy I'm going to, or the tournament I'm going to this Saturday, or hopefully going to this Saturday. I was talking to the guy who runs it. It's part of this, he's kind of part of this group. Oh, holy crap. He's, it's part of this, like, local group where they started doing RTTs. Then they moved location because the RTT started getting really big, because it's an RTT that was focused on fundraising for Alzheimer's. It's the battle to end Alzheimer's. So they moved location because they needed a bigger spot, and then they were able, I think like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, they finally got elevated to GT status, which means playing in there is sort of like qualifying for some of the international tournaments. And the guy for this smaller one was like, I'm trying to see if we can get maybe another GT. But the place we play in is like this comic book store where I think at most you can have 20 players or something with the amount of tables they have. And I brought up, like, there's like a fire hall near me that you can rent out. And I've done conventions in it where they rent it out for like the weekend. So if you, as a manager of an arcade, if you think you can fit like a good bit of people in the arcade for some reason, I don't know the size or scale. I mean, there's always that off chance that, like, you start out just as like events, then you move it to RTTs. You could start posting it on BCP to get some people out there, get some interest churning. Next thing you know, a few years later, you've got yourself a recognized GT that people travel to go to, which should be pretty cool. Yeah, RTTs are fun. Well, they can be. The RTTs near me are where the hyper-competitive players bring their sweat lists to try them out for GTs. But this next RTT that's coming up, the guy running it said that Legends are okay. And if you're not familiar with 40K, Legends are models that are currently out of competitive rotation. They have rules, but you don't see them at GTs because they're just not legal for GTs. They're weirdly imbalanced, or they don't really have like a spot in the system that really makes them useful. They're getting rotated out of print, all that stuff. Kind of like how trading cards work. Sometimes legends come back. Sometimes they go away. I think Yarick is a legend. At least old Yarick. New Yarick is his own stats and model. So we live in a world where I might be going against a couple different Yarick types. Don't buy in right away, but do contact those groups. Because even though there's no in-BCP tournaments for that, it could just be because there's really not a lot of reason to throw together tournaments for it, but maybe there is a local scene. So at the very least, look into the contact info. Sometimes the BCP information for the events will have like Facebook links or like an email, or it'll tell you the store that they're going to be played at. Figure out where those are, and then get the barometer for the local area if there is like side stuff you can play. Because if you're not planning on going to a tournament and the local scene is like, oh yeah, dude, we play Star Wars all the time, it's just there's no local tournament for it. We're not really planning on putting a local tournament on, then you can still do it. Because with 40K, the reason you RTT, like I said, is to test a list. The reason you GT is because Games Workshop has sort of sanctioned it as like a proper tournament that will determine your ranking in the world, as well as potentially, depending on if it's like a golden ticket GT, your ability to go to the much larger events as a big competitor. So if there's no real value in running a Star Wars Legion tournament, then you might as well. But like they're just playing it because they like the rules, then you might as well know. That way you can be like, oh, I'll just do Legion. You know, I don't really care about going to big tournament days. You find out that they do like a Star Wars Saturday or something, or like a Legion Thursday, and it's like every Thursday 10 of them get together and just play Legion. Potentially. Definitely look into it. I mean, was your brother hyped about the Star Wars side of things? Because at that point, I mean, if you're just going to play, just grab Legion. Like I said, it's like golf. If you end up mostly just playing your brother, and then maybe like you meet other people just generally, and they're like, we'll play, then that's cool. Get yourself a nice small little group. Meet up on like the third Saturday of every month. Get a couple rounds going, hanging out. Toss on some music. All vibes. All vibes. Potentially. If you're going to try to convince them, just show them the armies. A key thing to tell anyone who's looking into the game is if they're going to ask, you know, like, well, which army's good? I mean, you can tell them the army that's good in the moment, but that could change at any moment. It is very much about playing the army you really want to, like, get into. And then depending on the level at which they play, you could have a lot of fun. Like, if it's you and your bro, you guys can make, like, weird lists that are interesting. And then just, like, see how they work into each other. It's always a toss-up when I go to the local store to practice. If I'm going there and I'm like, I want to just try out this dumb list, it's a toss-up whether my opponent's going to be like, all right, that's fine. Here's my, this is what I play in tournaments lists. And it's like, oh, okay. All right, let's see how my dumb list works into your tournament-ready hyper sweat list. But when it comes to, like, balance and things, keep in mind, this happened recently. A faction in 40k that everyone's been making fun of for being garbage is the agents, Imperial agents. Everyone's pretty sure they're just bad at everything. No one should ever play them because it's terrible. There was a bet that happened. A very big, highly skilled, top of his game player went, I think I'll take an agents only list to a tournament and see what happens. Because everyone says they're bad. I want to see how bad they are. And he got third. And yes, his personal skill and knowledge of the game is really what put him there. But that's kind of how 40k is to a pretty hefty degree. The idea is at the highest end of the game, there is maybe only a 5% difference in power between lists. And because dice rolls are very key in the game at certain points, that 5% could matter, or it couldn't, just because of the dice rolls. In very key and core moments of the game. So, I mean, they just got to look at the factions and go, I like this. And then they can just start collecting, which 40k, I mean, they sell starter boxes. I think Star Wars also sells starter boxes. You can get a combat patrol for each of the armies. You can play combat patrol against each other. I don't think it's as cheap of a starting point as the Star Wars stuff, but I mean it's a pretty good starting point because it's all packaged. If you're gonna play combat patrol, you don't even technically need to buy the codex. Hopefully, no one texts me while I do this to you. No, yeah, it's good to have a common thing between people. All right. So there's a Warhammer 40K app that you can download. And in it, it has all the factions. Now, supposedly, this is going to be changing in 11th. Where you'll be able to see most people's stats. They say you can see your opponent's list. That's actually going to be really huge in tournament play. That there's going to be a method to put an opponent to put their list on your thing. So that if you're about to go into an enemy or you're trying to plan something and you're like, wait, how does that work? You can pull it up here. So you can see their rules. I don't know if that means you're just going to be able to see all data sheets, or if you're only going to be able to see that person's data sheets for like X amount of time after a certain point. But like, I don't own the orcs. I don't own the orc codex. But I can go into orc, and there's 2 combat patrols here, and you can click them. And it's all here. All the stats, weapons, all of it. So if you buy, I think this is the old? No, this is the more recent combat patrol, I think, than this one. I think there's 2 different ones. They kind of show you the picture, but like there's a singular box that has all this in it. And then you have the data sheets for the units, the rules that you need to know about for the general army, the enhancements you have access to, and then the actual core rules for the game are also in this app. And then I think there's a PDF you can download from their website for Combat Patrol. So you don't need any books. You don't need too much extra beyond getting the boxes. Yeah, and then Waha and New Recruit covers a lot of other grounds as well when you go to full scale if you don't want to get the books yet right away. But be aware that in the next edition of the game, 11th edition, those books will work. They're just letting them roll over to the next edition. But yeah, you buy the Combat Patrol itself. Which, let me I feel like I'm working for them. To be clear, I don't work for Games Workshop. So me doing all this nerdy shit of like, hey man, buy stuff. This is me being excited about the game. Fade. So yeah, you just Warhammer 40K's page, click on the side over here. You can look through all the different factions, the kind of like Space Marine-y stuff, the Chaos stuff, Armies of the Imperium, the Xenos stuff. And if your brother's like, yo man, Tau, boom, Combat Patrol. It's 170, it is a bit. But, I mean, you get a big-ass tank, you get a big-ass suit, you get a couple squads of guys, and all these rules are in that. Yeah. So, like, this is it. This is your starting point without books. One person gets this. Tower, cool. I mean, you've been paying attention, right, to the new stuff Tau has? I mean, I love these style of suits. These suits are so interesting looking compared to what they used to be. But I mean, if you've been keeping up with it, you've seen the new stuff. I do like the new suits. Are they even... Did they not move them over here yet? Did I miss them? I missed them. They're out of stock right now, but they look so good. They look so good. Yeah, about, on average, per person, $170 is around the price that you would need to spend on a Combat Patrol. And then just get the app. There's most likely some YouTube videos that show you how to like get into the stuff and what to recognize for the rules. Combat Patrol doesn't factor in a ton of things. It actually simplifies a few stuff or a few different functions of the game so that you're not like overwhelmed right off the rip. Yeah, if you've already been collecting Tau, you might have some of the stuff in the Combat Patrol. Just buy the specific components on the side. Like, get the other stuff just on its own. You're good. just like the Tau. Tau were cool. I was around when Tau got introduced to the game. You could already see that people were like, wait, what is this? Because they do not match the tone of the universe for Warhammer 40k. So there's already just that ocean of people who are like, why do they look happy? Why do they look friendly? Like, so clean. I don't understand. Does not compute. When the reality is that the Tau themselves are probably darker than most of the factions in 40k. Forced servitude, mind control. I have a buddy that plays Black Templar. I have a comic book about how Black Templar exist. It follows a singular person through their like acceptance and then evolution through the Black Templars ranks. I need to preemptively get some terrain mats for 11th. I'm pretty sure they put the specs down so that you can get them started to be printed now. I know they're going to put their own out, so I might either wait for theirs and just try to get them day one. It depends. If they release the new mats only in a box set with like the models, I might just get my own set. Oh, just go all helmets. That's kind of the trick. If you don't like the faces of stuff, just go all helmets. Or you want to pog out ridiculous style. I don't have any heads glued onto these because I'm doing lighting for them, but these are Etsy heads. It's just punk rock chicks. So a lot of mohawks. Yeah, you could probably get some cool, like, extra masks from Etsy. Or you just use the regular masks that they have. Because they'll give you usually enough helmets. You should be over-inundated in helmets, honestly. That way, if you buy a character who doesn't have a helmeted head, you could probably remove his head and replace it with a helmet. If you don't like how it looks. Well, now that you've said Black Templar, that reminds me. Emperor's Champion. Turn the servo arm back on. Those are one of the unique models. That was like a limited release, like special model. It's the Emperor's Champion. I'm pretty sure the base is a lot smaller than what that sold with. That was more of just like a base they needed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Especially with what's coming, man. The box set that's Orcs versus, I think, what? Blood Angel Templari stuff? I know they're doing the Blood Angels, but they're also kind of like making it every faction. Which, that's been a funny, like, under rumbling in the universe of 40k. Is why are they making it so all the factions are on Armageddon fighting? That's not normal. Getting that nerd anger off of something that's like, oh, why? It's logistically a problem that there's this many different factions on Armageddon. It's like, all right, man. You can hear them pushing their glasses up. It is the perfect model, though. Orcs do love to crump. And so do the Black Templar. Blood Angels like to crump too, so they both kind of work. No, it can be fun, yeah. It is. I mean, they've been actively saying, you know, Warhammer's for everyone. There's factions that everyone can kind of like. A lot of different directions to go. Great. If someone loves hobbying and crafting, it's great for that. And it's even better for that if you have other people locally who are also playing, because then they have access to your stuff for parts. So, like, even if you're not personally inclined towards, like, custom crafting models, next thing you know, you're this other person that is, like, playing alongside you is just like, hey, do you have any helmets? I'm going to make a giant skull throne for my character. Likes cutesy stuff, Jack? All right, let me see if I can find a picture of it. trying to find good resolution images for this. I introduce you to something I was introduced to from someone who was in our community forever ago, and I don't think I've heard from them in a while, but they popped into the Discord and started posting links of this because they thought it was funny, and I loved it. So some of them also involve like bonsai trees coming out, and then they use like specialty basing material to look like lotus petals and stuff. They did the drones had these as well, like the drones that fly around with the Tau were like the guns on the bottom of these heads, so they look like balloons with guns under them. I'd like to also introduce you to... I don't know if I'm going to find it. Hang on, we'll go this one. You know, knights can be cute too. Let's see if I can find the other good one. Oh, I think I found it. Let me mute. I don't want to post it this way. Behold. The Furby Killacan. I think this is a big mech, actually. So they just install the Furby inside of it. I think there's one more. No, open. And you can always pair something like this with a little bit of that. Like, the possibilities equal endless. I know, the roller skates. The off-center friggin' gun forward look. There's room for like fun hobby stuff in it that you don't necessarily have to do, but is always great to see. And there's so much more I can show you. Weird things that caused like some odd controversy, although that's probably not the right word. There's a pretty good hobbyist. I think she streams occasionally. And I know there was a Golden Demon, which is specifically hobby. I mean, it's not even like, you know, on table competition. It's how good can you paint stuff. And she put a lot of effort into making a Great Unclean One look like Oogie Boogie. From Nightmare Before Christmas. And it was really good looking. So she put it in for the competition, and they were like, we can't let this go through. And she was like, wait, what? IP. It was like a whole IP thing. Like, they just couldn't do it because of the IP. I mean, the alternative is what other people have done to the Great Unclean One. They sand him down, they green stuff over a lot of the holes and gaps, then they paint him like a fleshy Buddha. Oh, Discord? Oh, yeah. Bam, neophyted. Yeah, it was a while ago. This person popped into my stream and was like, hey, you want to see some stuff that usually pisses nerds off? It's like, what? They were like, these are the Tau I take to tournaments and everyone hates them. Damn, not allowed to go into Discord. It's kind of something I like. There's a person at the place I'm going to who usually goes to these tournaments at the venue I'm heading to. He's kind of like an engineer, and he decided he would play knights, those like large models, and he electroplates them. Like, that's how he paints them technically. He electroplates them. So they actually look like straight up metal, which is cool. You can do so many fun things with this. Even though they sell like the one kind of paint usually through Citadel, you can pick up tons of paint. Like, I'm using So Flat acrylics. I've seen people do really cool things with like watercolor. So much of this is less about the mechanic of like, oh, I have to do this in order to get the result. And it's become more like the, what can we do with this? Which I love. Once I get the gold done, we're basically done. I think I'm going to leave their hair white on the custom heads. I was trying to debate if I wanted to give them like fun colors, but I think having a couple with white hair would be good. He's back. Pretty dead set on using my Defiler based Emperor's Children list. All right, Daniel. I feel like if I complete my Zangors, though, I'm going to be like, maybe I take my mutant herd. Like an idiot. I want it to work so bad, but it will never work. Might work in 11th, though. The ability to give things lone op 15-inch based on terrain, that could be really good reason to take a boatload of Zangors. The fact that cover gives you minus to hit rather than armor pen. Oh, nice. I've got a couple on hand if you guys want to see anything live that's been put together. Like I've got my Tzeentch Demons. I got my Thousand Suns. You're looking at Emperor's Children right now. I got some Knights. I'd have to go into my back room to get my GSC out. I think I'm going to try to offload my GSC. And I bought them all. I painted them all. I played them like once. I think they're okay, but like, I don't know. Something didn't click with them. 212. Oh, we got some time. Could easily see us getting done the Noise Marines, which is pretty key. Because these kind of are like the end of what I actually need for Emperor's Children. The only thing I would maybe want to pick up eventually for them is some Seekers from the Demon Detachment. Because even though I like Demonettes for what they are, I feel like Seekers are just more generally useful. Because they're cheaper, A. So you can take more of them. They move faster. They have much larger bases, so you can screen easier. So if I ever want to do Carnival again, especially now with the Defiler being in place and having sustain attacks as well. Oh, so good. Bloat drones. Bloat drones are cool. Stowed bikes are also okay. Not a lot of people use them, but I mean, doesn't mean no one needs to use them. Knights are fun though. I got a boatload of them. I play Chaos Knights. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. I've got 8 of the little war dogs. I've got 5 big guys. The Imperial Knights just got a sort of mid-tier knight that's new to them. Just came out. They're pretty cool. My favorite part about Knights is the sheer surface area on them that you can play with. I did not do this personally, but I have seen people work on their Knights from the approach of like the shoulder pads. Yeah, I can grab one. When you work on a Knight, depending on how into it you want to go, the shoulder pads are really big. And I've seen people hyper focus on them in terms of like putting down a medium on the shoulder and then actually doing full-blown paintings on their shoulders. Yeah, here we go. So this is a Chaos Abominant. Let me zoom out real quick. Got the tendrils and stuff. Yeah. A lot of it is actually like movable. It's got a big old tail. Size comparison. So like I said, the shoulders are huge. So a lot of like big time like painters in this scene will just varnish off the shoulder or hit it with like gesso or some kind of surfacing medium to make like watercolor or oil paints work better. And then they'll just do like a full-blown oil painting. It'll look really cool. And because Knights are huge, depending on what you have access to bits-wise, let me grab my fully converted one. you can do fun, dumb stuff like this. This is a castigator. Sort of. I did a whole video on it. This is not how the sword looks for a castigator. It's just like two pieces of plastic that come to a point. This is a sword from Magnus. This is a head from a Slaughter Brute. So I just combined the two to make the sword. These are staff heads from Lords of Change that I green stuffed onto them. This is a Mauler Fiend head because I didn't like how the helmet looked originally in this. These are Zangor. These are those little things I showed you. These guys. You get a ton of extra bits from them in their kit. So what I did was I actually made relief sculpture out of them. I also own a bunch of Lords of Change. So you get a bunch of extra heads. So I did another relief sculpture on this ankle with them. They're hyper elite. You don't take a lot of them in a game. You don't need a lot of them in a game. But they tend to, at least the Chaos variants, they usually have some kind of bonus or buff that they can apply to their little versions. The Imperial are very similar in the way that they work. This is the little guy. Little size comparison. So this one basically provides a large area of like possible bonus attacks. So when something's within a certain range of it, it can just be like, I'm going to attack, and then it gets bonus attacks. But you don't get a lot of them. I think on average you'll have like 9 or 10 units on the field, and they're all single units, lots of health, kind of tough. They're difficult to use against people who know how to play into them, because if you know how to play into them, you lure them out, you kill it, and then you just take a whole big thing off the field that your opponent can kind of like work around, because now you have less stuff to deal with. But they're also sort of a stat check. They're powerful enough that most people build lists around the possibility of playing into a knight player. Because if you go to a tournament and you don't have a list that's like, I can kill knights, you're probably going to lose. Like, just straight up, if you don't have enough. But if you like... But if you like how, like, big attacks, like, if you like just crazy... Because, like, okay, these little people here, this, the 6-man unit here, not that tough. It's a little more tough than you'd expect, but not that tough. About 2 health each, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 wounds in total kind of situation. Toughness is 5, which, I mean, if you have no reference, it's not a lot. This is T11. It's like 20-something wounds. It's more in cost and points than these. But, like, these guys would get 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 basic attacks, and then between 12 and 6 extra attacks, depending on what you want to go for. This is, I think, like 10 attacks on its own. And then some good melee. And a minigun on the top that's, like, okay at killing stuff. So they're not imbalanced. It's just a lot of points on one thing that's going to need to do well. But they're super fun to paint and put together. Ugh. Coughing. And like I said, you don't need a lot. We talked about Combat Patrol earlier. Combat Patrol for Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights is 2 small knights. That's it. It's just 2 small knights. You buy 1 box of either Armigers or War Dogs, you have the Combat Patrol. And again, it's free in the app. You can just buy them and play it. It's so simple. My music. Well, if you're planning on playing the combat patrol like we were talking about, she likes Chaos Knights. This is the box. This box comes with a bunch of variants. Basically, you get one of these you get 2 core bodies, and then you'll get a couple different arms and back weapons. So this is it for the combat patrol. That's it, and you're ready to play. Fun little trick. I can show you in a second. I don't know if Games Workshop did this on purpose. But for both the variants of the knights, the arm joints are actually like perfectly designed for magnets. Like this is a standard size magnet you can get. I mean, this is even perfect for it. Like a magnet easily fits down here. You can glue in, and then you just glue a magnet there. Bam. Which means all the weapon variants you get, the melt-a-guns, the chain swords, all that, you can do all of it. You build the main body, and then you just build all the guns, get them all painted, and then you get the magnets in, and you can just have any variant you want. I even did a tiny magnet inside there, and then a tiny magnet on top of the Sposan weapon, so I can swap those and have them snap in. And then I gave them little tails. This is from a bit on a Mauler Fiend for Chaos Space Marines. But yeah. That way you can play the combat patrol, and then if you want to get more stuff for later for larger games, you can be like, well, I don't really want to use this variant of the War Dog, so I'll just swap weapons and use a different variant. And if you like War Dogs, there's currently a detachment in the Chaos Space Marine or the Chaos Knights list that is entirely built around War Dogs. They get tons of really cool benefits. Painting nights are cool. I will say, though, if it's just about the painting and you're thinking of playing Black Templar, maybe take a look at the Imperial Knights. Because within the rules themselves, at least for now, I don't know if this is ever going to change, Knights can be taken as allies in armies. So if you're playing Black Templar and she's got some like really fun painted Imperial Knights, and you're looking to play a game somewhere, you could actually be like, I'm going to use this Canis Rex that you painted. It's going to be an ally for my list. So you could use it. Because I got into Chaos Knights because of that. Because I could technically ally them into my Thousand Suns. And I was like, that's a fun idea. I never really do it, but it's a fun idea. I do have a list. I do have one list idea where I'm like, I might do it here. I was thinking of putting an Abominant into a list that uses 3 MVBs. That way I've got like this aura that walks around just damaging people from all different sources. Warhammer's not exactly complicated. It is and it isn't. It's as complicated kind of as you want to make it. But I mean, complication comes in almost every form of tabletop game. You're not really going to have uncomplicated. Even TTRPGs are usually very complicated. Sort of a way to get around complicated in 40k is to play a faction that doesn't have a lot of stuff, and then even then don't take a lot of different like stat cards, because then you're just playing with all the same stuff. There's not a lot to remember. Knights are usually good for that, because you could be like, well, I'm going to run 2 of these types of knights and then like 6 of these small ones, and then all I got to do is remember like 3 different data sheets, and they all kind of play the same, so like you just know what to do. A lot of 40k just boils down to what's your hit rating, what's your strength compared to my toughness. Here we go. It's nowhere near as complicated as it was. There used to be graphs and grids for like strength v toughness. There were whole charts about, oh, you're gonna roll this, and then like, oh, you lost a gun, and I'm gonna tell you which gun you lose, and it was crazy back then, man. I mean, complicated's always based on like your individual opinion on what complicated is for you. And it can be. I'm not gonna deny that. And there's a reason a single game of 2,000 points worth of 40k takes like 2 hours competitively. But among my friend group, it'll take like 6 hours. Ugh. Yeah, Magic the Gathering is far less complicated, because Magic the Gathering is designed to not be complicated. It's designed that all the rules are on the cards, so like there's really no, once you get down the basics of like the steps, there's nothing past that matters. Like everything's kind of just normal. It's highly simplified. It's not the most simple. I've played Pokemon. Pokemon card game is insanely simplified. Card games definitely exist within the hyper-simplified. I think board games are probably the truest of simplified things. I mean, if you're not looking for competition, you're just looking for something to play with someone else. Have you looked at any of the cooperative games? Like, have you looked at Blackstone Fortress? There's also like there's weirdly smaller scale 40K things, but I mean at that point you might as well just look around and find like any other game. Like there was something called 40K Heroes. Like there was the Heroes line, which is usable in kill teams to a degree. But the hero line kind of plays like what was that game? It's kind of the Mega Man, like that sort of more tactical Mega Man game. Not like the side scroller, but sort of the power battle-y one. It plays like that, but with 40K models. And yeah, there's cooperative versions of the game. Like Blackstone Fortress is kind of like a roguelike almost, but as a board game. So that could be kind of cool. We've played that, I think, once. We tried one campaign with it with my group of friends. We didn't win. We died. It did not end well for us. Yeah. Kill Team's about to put out, or I think it might have put out. No, I think it's still coming out. The Nemesis dossier. Kill Team is, which is a competitive game, is for this part of the season leaning into the PvE element of the game, where you can kind of create a system where the enemy interacts very similar to how they interact in like Blackstone Fortress, where there's like a built-in list of like, are you close to an enemy unit? Do this. Like it's sort of like a simplified AI function of ifs and thens that get it to do certain actions and movements. So you can get a kill team, and like a friend of yours can get like a kill team, which similar to Combat Patrol. They're usually like 60, 80 bucks. You get one squad, somewhere in there. You can buy a thing that could be considered like a villain or a boss, and then, you know, you and your friends try to beat it. It's the whole point of the new dossier. They're releasing the Red Terror, which is a Tyranid special character, utilizing this thing. They say that there's stats and stuff in there that you can use for like general units, like Hellbrutes or Dreadnoughts, which are just general units you can use in Space Marines and Chaos. They're bringing back the Amble, which is actually from Blackstone Fortress, which I have. I actually have the Amble. It's just options. Again, because I think we've gone over it. Check it out. Like, figure out a day to go to like one of these events. Those tournaments in BCP, if they're within a certain range of you and you're like, I could do that day, go. Don't go for the tournament to like play, but maybe go to just check it out. You don't even have to go for the start. You could show up kind of later on if you want. Take a look at stuff. You won't be able to ask too many questions necessarily on the day, although people tend to be okay telling you stuff if you're like, hey, what just happened there? Like, but a lot of the times tournaments are timed, so people don't really like to have to stop and explain stuff to bystanders for it. That's why it's usually better to see if there's like a special event that's just like people hanging out on like a Monday night to go check out. Because when we go to the actual Warhammer store to play, that's usually what happens. Someone new will pop in, start asking questions, and we'll just hang out and talk to them. We're fine with our game going from like 2 hours to 4 hours if it's to like chat to a player who might actually start playing. We took a break once mid-game because someone was asking about like how I painted some things. And I showed him the process. Yeah. Check it out or call ahead. Call ahead to ask them if like certain groups meet at certain times of day there. Or if there's like a local community that you can look into. Because I know if somebody asks at the Warhammer store, he usually tells them like Saturday. If you're going to go in, go Saturday. Because there's usually a game going on. Might be different for you. I don't know. I think I'm an okay dude. Really okay. Maybe mid-tier. Maybe like a 7.5 out of 10. Which is high praise from IGN. Yeah, but the moment you stop critiquing yourself on stuff and just assume everything you do is awesome, ugh. That is the downfall. It's kind of the Bob Ross concept. Once in a while and during that show, he would tell people, like, the one thing he wishes for everyone is to never feel content. The moment you feel content is the moment you stop growing. They did a documentary on him. He was pretty cool, but like the stuff around him kind of sucked. So there was already someone doing the Bob Ross show prior to him taking it over. It was this guy who sort of like taught classes. It's one of those like senior things where like seniors from, I want to say like Florida or wherever, would come to see him, and he would show them how to like paint using his method, which is sort of like almost the origin for general speed painting, right? Because it's less about trying to be accurate and more about trying to convey the process and thought. Like, I'm not trying to paint the mountain the exact way I see it. I'm trying to paint something that you look at and go, oh, that's a mountain. Like, a lot of professional painters do not like Bob Ross and that method. Because it sort of belittles the effort they put in to try to make something perfect. Turns it into something almost mechanical. But yeah, this other guy had it, but no one watched it. He was like a very energetic German dude. Just very, very thick accent. And he would kind of sit there in a smock and just be like, oh, and then you do this, and then you do that, and surprise, you have a painting. Like, that's kind of like his whole shtick. And he had a school for it. And he was kind of famous doing the like PBS shows and stuff, but like not extensively. And then there was this woman who, I think she was like married to a guy that like ran a lot of the PBS stuff. And for her birthday one time, she was like, I want a lesson from him because, you know, he's kind of famous, and she wanted like a famous painting teacher to show her some stuff. And she goes, and the guy wasn't around. He was having something else happen. Like, he was just off. And one of his students, who he was trying to teach, like, the method of teaching painting to, was the person he had like take for that class. And when that word came out that it wasn't the guy from PBS, it was someone he was teaching was going to be their teacher, a lot of people were like really pissed about it. But then the guy came in, and it was Bob Ross, and Bob Ross has the riz like no one understands. I mean, it's freaking Bob Ross. It's got the deep voice, a little bit of that southern twang. Very happy-go-lucky hippie. And everyone immediately was just like, yep, this is fine. This is good. I like this guy. And that was when she realized this is the guy who should be doing the show on PBS. So they did. They turned it into like a paint brand and everything. They really pushed like all of that. Built an empire with them. And I think if you watch the later seasons for Bob Ross, I think he was trying to leave that empire to his son, who, if you watch enough of his son paint, like, he's not that interesting. He's kind of like low energy. Doesn't really explain things as well as Bob Ross does. But he was trying to leave that to him as like kind of the legacy, right? But the people who contracted to Bob Ross through PBS basically had full control. And they just, like, kicked him out. They ousted him from it. So the documentary kind of painted everything about that in a bad light. Created this whole back and forth of like, well, is his son saying that because his son was just like, oh, I should be super rich because my dad was Bob Ross? Like, is it a little of the nepotism built in that he was hoping for, and then it didn't come to fruition? Or is it like an actual thing where it was just like corporate greed? It's just really awkward to try to figure out. Yep. The people that manage that side of his legacy, though, they started a Twitch channel. This kind of exacerbated it a little bit, in my opinion. They started a Twitch channel because they were trying to, like, I guess, fund more stuff or like make money, because they're the people who manage the art brand, which the art brand still exists. The store near me actually sells the Bob Ross art brand stuff. So you can go there and it's got his picture on the front. You know, recognizable things like, oh, Bob Ross paintbrushes, Bob Ross paint thinner, like his the Bob Ross paint palette kind of situation. I think they still do the classes that he originated from. I think that's still like a school that happens that you have to kind of like look into and find if there's an event near you or somewhere you can go, or they send you videos, I think is the one thing. Like you can contact them, and then I think you have to pay like a fee to join their service, and then they send you videos going over their technique. They have a museum with his stuff in it. The thing was, they talked about how he recorded in the documentary. Apparently a lot of it was kind of not on the spot. The thing he would do is actually figure out a good looking painting. Like he would spend X amount of time practicing and understanding what a good looking painting looks like for a certain concept. He would do a bunch of technique tests, and then he would show up for the recording days, and he would paint 2 of them. And they would just, you know, get the best take at the end of the day, and they'd be like, all right, yeah, that's the one we're going to use. I think one of the paintings that he would do the 2 of every time would get sent to the lady that was behind him, the one that brought him into that whole thing. And then the other would go to the PBS studio group so that they could have it. They would sell it off if they needed money, but I think they kept most of them. They never really auctioned too many of them off. And part of the documentary, I think, was built around the guy who was doing the whole thing. He wanted to buy one. So he was trying to look into getting one, and that's when he found out, like, he just couldn't. Like, they would not get rid of him. It was a weird video. Or a weird documentary. For a lot of people, it started out sort of like the Mr. Rogers one, where everything was good. Like Mr. Rogers was just like wholeheartedly good. And it kind of started out as that, and then it started revealing things where it was like a little corporate. There were some problems. It's just like, oh, that's actually kind of shitty. I do like my Noise Marines. Just happy they're the last ones I need. Alright, now we gotta get the white down. Very sparingly, of course. We just load up a little bit on the brusherino. It's all about finding edges and peaks. Just to spice it up a little bit. Definitely looking forward to finishing these up. I gotta figure out where to put them in my display case. My Emperor's Children section in my display case is very full. Like uncomfortably full. Getting up to the point where I'm going to have to go grab a paper towel and actually get their basing on. Hell yeah. Super glue. Also need the razor blade. Welcome back. Just getting all the heads on. We're going to correct the areas around the neck. Damn, I'm already getting super plans? Votan are awesome, though. I love how they look. I've said it a million times on this stream, but had I come back shortly after the time I actually got back in, instead of playing Thousand Suns, I probably would have been playing Votan. Votan literally dropped like 3 months after I got back in. Like, I like Space Vikings, but I don't like Space Wolves. So having an entire faction be built around like Norse mythology style existences, but not actually be Space Wolves, is fantastic. No, yeah, it is. But when you start going hyper far out, I feel like, to a degree, it's like, let's just go through the first thing. Because, like, that's something that can stall you from actually making a decision, is planning, like, way far ahead. It can almost become paralytic. It's just like, oh, then I have to start collecting them after I collect this one? Oh, no. And then, like, you kind of have that moment of, like, it's overwhelming, and then it just becomes bad. I think you need a hefty blend of future planning, followed abruptly by, in the moment kind of mixings. Their armor's nice for, like, straight up color. It's probably my favorite part about them. is it's kind of what the armor I would want on like redone Tau would be, where it's like a little bit rounded but also still like very flat surfaced. Because both work really well. Let me grab a paper towel. Oh, phone call. There we go. Parents are on their way back, so they're trying to time when they get here. I guess they're going to get here earlier than they thought. Pigment powder. That's fine. I'm never worried about people being in chat necessarily. I mean, the intrinsic nature of what we're doing here is very like lurker-y when it comes to YouTube and live streaming. I've had days where like no one's talking in chat and I'm assuming no one's there, and then I'll actually look over and it'll be like, you've got 10 people watching you and it's just no one's talking. Just throws me off. Because eventually you run out of stuff to say while you're streaming. You're just sitting here in silence trying to apply all the final bits. I mean, it's anything really. Topics don't matter. I'm painting minis, but, well, I mean, topics kind of matter. I don't really want the channel to lean too many different directions. But like video games, nerd stuff, we can talk about it. I'm just painting. This is the core of Beer Hammer. Chilling out, painting, just talking about random shit. That's why we get the fun little questions every now and then. A question for you guys, chat. If someone were to offer you a cheesesteak with shrimp on it, would you eat it? Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I lived in Baltimore for 4 years, and the sandwich shop in the apartment complex that I lived in had a shrimp cheesesteak that the moment I read it, I was like, there's no way that's good. And then I tried it, and I swear to you, I had maybe one a month at least. It was one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten. I actually genuinely miss it. It was the coolest sandwich shop ever. For $5, you could get a hamburger the size of your head and like a boatload of fries. Such a good place. Chaos nights, regular nights. The key differences is related to the army rule that they have access to usually. Both of them are about being near allies to provide buffs. The Chaos Space Marine ones provide like aura buffs, and then the regular Space Marine ones have to like choose allies to get a buff that are within a certain range of them. And then in response, like they get a bonus usually sometimes. They play very similar. It's more the looks that are different. As of right now, though, there are a couple knights that only exist in one versus the other. The Abominant, which is a psychic knight, is chaos. There's also a new like drill version knight that's only chaos. The new medium knight, like it's like between a big knight and a war dog or an armiger. That only currently exists in the Imperium. And if she likes the war dogs technically only exist in Chaos. And there's a lot more options for that size of knight in Chaos. There's like 2 options of Armiger in Imperium. And then there's like 5 or 6 maybe. Executioner, Brigand, Stalker, Huntsman. I think I'm missing one. The Huntsman is the Meltagun. The Brigand has options. The Stalker... The Brigand's the ranged version, but has options. The Stalker has melee ranged options. Executioner's the autocannons. Carnivore. Carnivore's the full melee. So there's 5, I'm pretty sure. So if she likes more of like the small people, that's Chaos. Imperium tends to go mostly big units. But now that they have the medium knight, it sounds like the goal in the next upcoming rule set, they want you to use like 2 or 3 medium knights or more, and then like a couple small knights, and then maybe like 1 big knight. Chaos has more access though to like random BS. The Knights detachment I usually play is called Infernal Lance. And Infernal Lance gives itself the ability to get access to power, but only based on a test that could damage it. The Chaos variant also likes having this aura that evolves over the course of the game, and that aura causes fear in its allies. So the enemies around you maybe have to take leadership checks to see if they're battle shocked, which is something that can prevent them from scoring points. They get other bonuses based on whether the enemy's battle shocked or not. Like, there's a lot of that to it. Whereas Imperial Knights are a little bit more forward facing. These are our stats. They're a little bit more simplified. But yeah, the Chaos... I like the Chaos Space Marine ones. I would play them regardless of whether their rule was good or not, just because it is related to the other factions I play, and I can ally them in. But the fact that it's like turn 1, you get to either pick an enhancement for the game, or you can random roll 2. And then turn 3, you do the same thing for either random rolling, I want to say like picking. I think you have to pick. I don't think you're allowed to random roll at turn 2. And then you basically just over the course of the game, you evolve your power to try to match your opponent. Like if your opponent's really good at ranged, you can take the I'm stealth outside of 18-inch upgrade. So if your enemy's 18 inches away from you, they're -1 to hit. Enemy playing all melee, well, you don't need it. Go extra -1 to leadership, or maybe forced battle shocks if they're below starting strength instead of half. That's also good. Imperial, I would say, are simplified. Imperial are highly simplified. It's, oh, I killed your warlord, I get bonuses now. Or, oh, I just get a couple simple things, here's my simple stats. There's a lot less data sheets to remember. Because rather than having to remember the Carnivore, the Executioner, the Stalker, the Brigand, the Huntsman, you have to remember the Helverin and one other. It's literally just a Meltagun chainsword guy or an autocannon guy. There's no in between. The only thing is that they've added those new medium knights. So what's cool is you'd have access, if you started an Imperial Knights army, to like this brand new style model that you can play around with, that people are starting to learn about. I'm probably going to call it after the Noise Marine so I can run around for a minute and get some stuff. But yeah, that's probably the better place to start. And like I said, man, if you're playing Black Templar and at any point you're like, I'm going to go play this game over here, and your sister has some Imperial Knights, and maybe you want to like ally in something from the Imperial Knights, you'd have access to it. because it's an Imperial Knight. And you can usually ally at least... I don't know what they're going to do about the Medium Knight. I don't know if you'll be able to take like 2 Medium Knights, but normally you can take 3 of the small Knights, like the Armigers, the guys with the autocannons and stuff. Or you can take 1 big Knight, which people usually do if it's Canis Rex, I think, is the one you would have access to. Yeah, no problem. We're going to get the last of the pigment powder down, and then we're going to black ring these so I can varnish them before heading out. And as always in the hobby, if the main thing she's looking at is like what she can do with them to make them visually fun, if you look at like the pictures and the rule books and stuff, and you see like all the heraldry and kind of like the standard classic knight, like almost like jousting knight style visual aesthetics and like colors and patterns, if you look at that and you go, well, I don't really want to do that, surprise, you don't have to. Do not worry about the pre-established visual aesthetics and concepts that are provided to you. What you are looking at here with what I'm doing, I mean, this isn't in the book as like you have to do this. Purple gold is an Emperor's Children color scheme, but it's not necessary. You can kind of do whatever you want. So don't consider yourself locked into any one thing. And the large knights are pretty cool in that they are large enough that you can really tinker around with extremely advanced concepts if you'd really like to try. For instance, they are big enough that you could probably easily run powered LEDs into them. So if you want the actual eye lights to really light up, there's a possibility that you can do that. So you can get a little crazy with it. Wrap this up, wipe it up, get the black rings down. Yeah, this game isn't like the Milsim tabletops where you lose points for not having the right colors on your models. Such a weird concept, Milsim tabletop. Yep. And also, if you start playing with people, like, don't worry too much about, like, trying to be quick with a game or, keeping up a good pace. One of my favorite memories when I used to play back in like 3rd, 4th, and 5th with my friends was that we would set up a game on like a covered table that we had in my basement. We would just start a game up and it would go until we finish. Like, we would wander off, we would get lunch, we'd go outside, we'd come back, we'd keep playing. You can kind of just have fun. Yeah, you can just as easily write down like what's happened, what the score is, and then just continue onward with your day and come back to it later if you really want. There are people around here who play Armageddon-sized games, which is a ridiculous amount of points on table. It's usually multiple tables pushed together. And they'll play it over the course of like 2 days. I think there's a YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube channel that did a series you can probably look up of like a game that took them almost like a year to play. It was something like they rented out a warehouse and then they filled all the tables with like a ton of units. Like the most amount of units you'd probably see in a single game. They had to actually physically roll buckets of dice to see the results. And then they played a game. Yeah. I just remember them being like, alright, my orcs are going to melee swing. And the guy picked up like a trash can filled with dice. My dream is to go to an actual GT with my Emperor's Children that War Games Live is at, and have Joe be like, "Oh, I got to get you on," and I'll be like, I mean, if you want people to witness the worst dice rolls they'll ever see, I'll hop on. That's fine. You might hear me in turn 1 say something like, screw it, let's see what happens. And then that's pretty much the game. I'm going to make one play that if it doesn't work, we might as well shake hands and, move on. I'm going to lay this all on like a 40% chance to happen situation. I do it so much. I have to calm down on it. Gonna make actual plays. What, on War Games? Nah, he only really covers GTs. One of the people I play against has been on it twice, though. The first time one of the guys in our community was like, yo, check it out. Posted the link in chat. And then the second time I was sitting there and I heard him say like, oh, we can get this tiered list on from this guy. And it was the guy I play against. I was like, oh, shit. He's back. And then because War Games Live does cover like some of the bigger tournaments as well, one of the guys that I was playing, he started playing shortly before I started playing. Or coming back rather. And he was learning like every day. Like he was going to the store every day and like learning from some of the people there. Like all the different strategies and ways of thinking. And he became, for a little while there, top 5 in the country at playing the game. And so I would constantly be sitting here, and then I would just hear his voice just on my TV, and I was like, oh, goddamn. Well, you just go to GTs that he goes to. And then maybe he puts you on the table. He tries to put good players on the table, and I don't have an ELO. So, like, even if I did, it would probably be really low. So I don't know if I would get put on. Because he doesn't want to put people on the show who might do something that's like, oh, he shouldn't have done that. And then, like, chat just gets angry. Because, you know, chat always has that, like, looking into the past is 50-50 on your vision kind of situation. Like, they'll always claim they'd make the perfect move, but I mean, these are people who aren't actually in the tournament, so they don't feel the pressures. They don't have that moment of like, oh, if I do this, that's epic and I basically win. Like, they don't get that feeling. But yeah. Noise Marines and the Cacophonist, the final ones that I needed for that side of my Emperor's Children. Dunzo. I'm going to go varnish them. And then I'm going to go get something to eat. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for talking, Jack. We had a lot of people in here earlier. And then it, you know, lurked out / petered out. But it's always good. Sundays are weirdly talkative for people. I'll post some pictures online in a minute on our Discord. And maybe my social medias. Yeah. Until next time, guys. We still got Zangors to paint. So that'll be this week. Later.